What's up, you guys? It's
Yep.
Tuesday.
Another boring day in the apocalypse.
Like I said.
I'm waiting for Will Smith to drive by a damn Mustang, shoot up the house.
Just, add some spice to the apocalypse.
Waiting for Matthias and all the fucking... Matthias and what were they called? The family to show up from City Hall.
All the vampires.
Yeah.
I really, really wish,
Neville! Remember that?
They'll be out there going,
shooting at him with the BAR. Yeah. If you guys haven't seen Omega Man, the original, you can stream it off fucking YouTube. Charlton Cheston.
Yeah.
Cheston.
The Cheston.
The Chest. Yeah. The last man on Earth.
Charlton the Cheston.
Sole survivor of a biological apocalypse that he helped create. And just
Oopsie.
living up in his honky paradise, in his mansion.
Playing chess with a mannequin.
Yeah, call him Caesar. Got the whole thing fucking secured, machine guns and spotlights, and there's some mutants living down in City Hall trying to get him because he's a relic from the past. It's a good movie, man.
It is, but it's like, you know what, though? It's like, I feel like, other than your fucking, classics, obviously, like Dracula, Frankenstein, etc., I feel like fucking that Richard Matheson book has been fucking adapted like 3 times, like major adaptations, and none of them are really that close to the book.
No.
I mean, I guess the Vincent Price one, Last Man on Earth, was the closest.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Omega Man is a good movie, but it deviated a lot from the text. And the recent one, the Will Smith one, was that kind of sucked a lot.
Terrible,
and the ending was completely
it
completely negated the whole point.
Yeah.
Of the fucking story.
And what made that story good were the mutants talked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Without talking mutants, you don't have a movie. And it was a global pandemic. There wasn't many people that survived. And without that, you don't have the movie. The Will Smith version, it was just New York.
That's right.
So kind of
was another dumb
kind of
thing
bullshit
about
is
it.
that? Should have been the entire Earth.
Well, yeah, because that's kind of the whole
point of the story. The last man on Earth, the Omega Man. Yeah.
That's the whole point of the story.
So,
and the whole point of the story, and the reason it's called I Am Legend, and it's stupid because
he's a legend to the damn zombies.
Yeah, because he goes around killing them in their sleep.
Yeah, they're not zombies.
To them, he's the monster.
Right.
That's like the whole point of the book.
That's the whole point of the book. And in the movie Omega Man, it was from what, 67 maybe? 71? Somewhere around that time.
Those were early 70s.
It's fucking awesome.
It is. I love that movie.
Yeah, Cheston plays a guy called Neville. I think it's Colonel Neville. And he was a scientist, and he was a biochemist, I guess, and he made a damn bioweapon that got out. And it killed almost everybody, except some people that mutated into these psychopathic, turned them into, what do you call them? Albinos.
Yeah.
And they had their own religion. They were trying to go back to the damn medieval era. They were destroying.
Yeah, like monk.
They ran around all day, burning down all modern knowledge because they blamed it. They were post-apocalyptic. They didn't like anything that was modern.
Yeah, because like science fucked us.
Yeah, and Neville was the last modern thing. He had to go. Well, he wasn't going to give in to him. Anyway, he was running around. He spent most of the time jogging during the day, running around in his fucking convertible Ford Mustang, and he had a damn Smith & Wesson MK760 submachine gun. He'd be shooting at him. They couldn't come out during the day.
Yeah, they were like vampires, kind of,
but he'd lose track of time. He'd go watch a movie, and he goes, "Oh shit, it's getting dark,"
Although you think that like you would know.
He was getting kind of high, drinking and shit.
True.
And
I
hallucinating.
guess you would after a while.
He watched the same movie so many times that he just, he was going crazy.
Yeah, I guess.
And somebody, how they got guys that they have the whole little hobby of making dolls from movies.
Yeah.
And I saw somebody made a Neville doll that looked fucking awesome.
Oh, that's rad.
It was about 12 inches tall, and you could buy a Charlton Heston head. You put that in it. And then made that whole Air Force uniform with the machine gun and the fucking the flight suit and the colonel hat and everything. Remember when he was at the end when he was going on his damn suicide mission to fight them all, and he's got...
I was laughing at your arm.
Yeah, yeah.
It looked like you were hosing the front lawn.
He was hosing them. He's hosing with that 9mm, mowing them all down. What was cool is that particular movie almost was an action movie. Almost. They didn't quite have the action movie theory down in 71. Not as well as... Had that been made a few years later, it would have been even better. I think there would have been more shooting and stuff, more stunts.
Yeah, but then, like I said, they made the Will Smith one, and it was just kind of
that was 2000s.
Yeah. It just made me so mad because I heard that they were doing another adaptation, and I said, oh, maybe they'll actually like do it like the book this time, because that would be cool, because they haven't done that yet. But they just made it essentially like a zombie / vampire movie at the end of the world. Not even. It was just like the end of the city, which is dumb.
Somehow in Omega Man, they were able to film places in downtown LA, and it was empty when the sun was up. I don't understand how they did that.
Well, I was looking that up because they've done it for some others. Like in 28 Days Later, they got like some amazing shots of like London with nobody and it was just like how they do it. And I don't even fucking know still. But it's like you look the shit up and it's like, oh well, yeah, they would shoot for like 10 minutes at a time or something. They block some streets off and then they can only shoot for 10 minutes. I'm like, but still, you would think that in the background you would see at least one fucking person that wasn't like didn't get the memo or didn't want to play along. Going, hey, I'm in a movie. Yeah. Even though there's nobody else supposed to be alive, here I am. Hi, I'm in a movie.
Nah, Cheston was running around in that damn Mustang and wrecked it and shit.
I mean, you think you'd be able to see cars
shooting up into skyscrapers and stuff, and it looked real. Not skyscrapers, but 20-story buildings and shooting at them.
I'm always kind of like amazed by that kind of shit because there's a lot of movies like post-apocalyptic type of movies that that shoot in like the actual city and it's just like totally empty, and I'm like, can you imagine the logistics of having to film and like you can't be a single car, there can't be a single person, there can't be anything. Like nowadays it's easier because you can just digitally wipe that shit out, but back in the old days you had to really do that for real. Unless I guess you could like kind of build like a set and then just do like a matte painting, I guess. But that, depending on how good the matte painting was, I don't know like how feasible that kind of shit is. Although I have been surprised like some older movies that did that, that like I couldn't believe like how realistic the matte paintings. You know what? I didn't realize the John Carpenter movie The Thing, a lot of that was matte paintings.
Yeah, a lot of the snow was.
And I could not.
Yeah.
Like when I saw the behind the scenes stuff and they're like, yeah, we just put this snow like in this like one fucking 100-foot area and then everything else is just like, I'm like, holy fucking crap. I never would have guessed that.
Yeah, the hole where they got the alien out of the ground was matte. There was a painting of a hole. Mm-hmm. They were just looking like that. It's weird. Did a good job.
Yeah, I would never have guessed that in a million years. Well, like I said, there was a fucking art to it.
Yeah.
I mean, the best matte paintings, you don't know that they're matte paintings.
They did film most of it in a snowy environment, though. They wanted to get that damn breath. It did look cold. Yeah. That was the good thing about that. It's like in that 28 Days Later one. Isn't it the one with the vampires that were...
No, that was
what was that? What was that one called with the vampires that were up
30 Days of Night.
30 Days of Night. It didn't look cold to me.
Yeah. That was another one that like a lot of it was a set and then like a lot of it was fake snow and like
it's just hard to fake those little details about a cold environment, like little bits of frost here and there and the breath and the way glass looks when it gets real cold.
Yeah, it's like even when they CGI it doesn't
quite look right.
Well, like CGI in general.
And people move differently when it's fucking cold.
Yes, like
it doesn't matter
because all your joints are like frozen up.
But then you look at Jeremiah Johnson with Robert Redford. You can tell that was done in the fucking cold. You can tell that he was trying to catch a fish, but with his bare hands in a frozen fucking river. It just looked fucking cold.
Yeah. Well, just like the bedroom in The Exorcist when they were doing the exorcism, they just made it like they shot that inside a freezer.
Yeah. Just
so everyone would be like super cold and everything. Right. But yeah, so since we were talking about like book adaptations, I was, for some reason, every now and then I get like a weird like hair across my ass or whatever, and I have to like look, and I have to look some shit up.
Damn.
Yeah.
I wouldn't allow it to grow that long.
It's a metaphor.
Okay.
So I was thinking earlier that there, I might have mentioned this on one of the shows before or something like that. Like this really good like short story that I like called The Triumph of Death, which is from one of those Alfred Hitchcock anthologies, which I think I brought up yesterday, the day before. And I've always wanted to see like a movie adaptation of that, and I'm kind of waiting for it to go into the public domain so like I can write a screenplay and see if it gets made, because I think it'd be like really creepy. But then I found out that like apparently, and if any of you in the UK remember this or know where I can get hold of it, because I don't know if these episodes even exist anymore, but there used to be like, I think it was called Late Night Horror. It was like an anthology series like in the UK. And they did an adaptation of this story. I think fucking Claire Bloom was in it. She was in she was in a lot of stuff, but I remember her from Clash of the Titans. But yeah, so she was in it, and I'm like, man, I gotta see this. So I've been like looking everywhere, and I can't fucking find it. The only thing that I can find from that old TV show is just like a little snippet of like the opening credits or something like that. So it's like, this was like a 6-episode like horror anthology series from the UK, and now it's like completely gone. Like nobody saved it. That makes me really, really sad. I mean, I'm not, I don't know like how good this adaptation would have been, but it's like I really, really would like to see like a film adaptation.
So it doesn't exist anymore?
Of this, I guess not. Like I can't find it. I mean, I'm sure somebody must have kept it or taped, or somebody's got it. Somebody has to.
If you
but
got
maybe it was
us.
before VHS, maybe.
Right.
But it's like I'd love to see it. I mean, I'd
Yeah.
really love to see like a big screen adaptation of this story, because it always like creeped me out so much. It's just like this fucking creepy old lady, and she lives in this creepy old house, and she has this like a companion. She's like her housekeeper / cook / she reads to her and shit like that, like rich old ladies used to have. And the thing that really like attracted me to the story was that the house is clearly haunted, but the old lady is so evil that she pretends that it's not, so that all of her companions go batshit crazy. It's like gaslighting.
Yeah, you told me about this one.
Yeah, it's so good. It's just like, and it was one of my I used to read like all those like Alfred Hitchcock anthologies and stuff like that when I was growing up, and that story like really, really stood out to me. It's by H. Russell Wakefield, and it's like apparently he was like a really big deal. Like he's a one of Britain's preeminent ghost story writers from back in the day. And I've read a couple of his other stories too, which are also good, but I haven't liked any of them as much as this. And I really, really think that this would make a fucking great movie. Like I think it would be really, really creepy, and I wish somebody would fucking do it. Another thing I was thinking about today, just randomly, because I was thinking about books and book adaptations. Does anybody that grew up in the 70s remember that there was a show on PBS called, I think it was called Bookbird or Cover to Cover, or maybe there was 2 versions of the same show, and it's this guy, and his name was John Robbins, I think, and he would pick, there was like one book, or sometimes I think there was 2 like on per episode, and they would read like parts of the books. They were usually like YA type books, particularly big ones that came out in the 70s, like the Sea Egg and like the Westing Game and stuff. I don't think Westing Game was on there, but maybe Figs and Phantoms was, that Ellen Raskin. And he would draw like scenes. It was kind of like Bob Ross, but with YA novels. He wasn't doing paintings. He was just doing like charcoal drawings and like white. And he was like a really, really good artist. And he would just like draw these scenes like while someone was reading like passages from the book. And I used to fucking love that show. I found like 2 or 3 episodes of it on YouTube. But the weird thing is that I looked it up on Wikipedia because I was like, I remember seeing like a whole bunch of books, because I was talking to somebody on in the YouTube comments the other day about Zilpha Keatley Snyder, that writer, and how much I love The Headless Cupid, and that was where I first heard about that book, was on his show, like, because I remember the drawings that he did and everything like that. But then when I looked it up on Wikipedia, the episode guide for that show, it's like doesn't say that book was on there, and I'm like, did I just imagine my whole entire fucking childhood? Because I'm pretty fucking sure that that's where I found that. Like, I saw that book on that show. I'm like, wow, that sounds kick-ass. I'm going to go to the library and get that, because it sounded like exactly my kind of thing, because it was all, like, witchcraft and shit. So I don't know. It's really weird. So I don't know if anybody has any of those. I saw a couple of them, that somebody posted on YouTube, but there's only, like, a couple of them on there, and none of them are ones that I really remember. Except maybe Bridge to Terabithia. I remember that episode. But I don't know. It was just, like, really weird. And it's really weird how all of this stuff, like, from our childhood, even though it wasn't even that long ago, is like, Because you didn't have a VHS back then. You didn't have a VHS in the fucking 70s. If nobody taped it, and if if PBS didn't keep, the tapes or anything like that, then it's fucking gone.
Yeah.
And you never be able to see it again.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, most of most of Vampira is gone.
Yeah.
Like only a few seconds of that's left.
Isn't that shitty?
There was a lot of those daytime hosts, or the hosts of like the fucking
like
movie
horror hosts and
horror
stuff.
hosts. A lot of it's gone. They had one from the Michigan area outside Detroit that my buddy Eric used to tell me about. He's called the Ghoul. And I think he committed suicide. He was like some weird dude who was actually, and he was making that shit up as he was going. I heard that he committed. I think he thought that the dude had committed suicide.
Yeah.
And he'd be doing weird shit, like setting himself on fire on the show, and I don't know. And evidently nothing of him survives. Does anybody remember him?
Yeah, that's the thing, because pretty much every like major city had their own horror host, and only like a few of them got really popular, like Elvira Zachary, some people like that got really popular, and probably some of their stuff survived just because people remembered them more.
Yeah,
but every major like city had their own.
Yeah, evidently the Ghoul started losing his shit.
Yeah.
All right, as he was being the host. And they took the show from him, and I think he killed himself.
Because he was just going crazy.
Yeah, he was just doing crazier and crazier shit. And he was kind of like recording himself outside doing this stuff,
Said himself, please love me.
No, I don't think that's how it went.
That's crazy.
That's not how it went. It was just, I don't remember. He just said that, I don't remember all the details. I just remember him telling me about it.
Yeah.
About him growing up with this guy called the Ghoul. And he would wear his long trench coats, and I think he had a beard, and I think he said he was bald. I've never seen the guy.
Huh.
Kind of like an Uncle Fester type.
Now I'm gonna look that shit.
Kind of like an Uncle Fester type dude. And he got more and more bizarre on the show, and evidently they took the show from him, and I think he killed himself. That's how I remembered it.
Huh.
It may not be true, but I think that's what he told me.
And this was in Michigan.
It was in Michigan. It's around the Detroit area. That would have been in the 80s. I should look it up,
because some people are really into like all those old horror hosts and stuff like that. It's interesting because I was watching like fucking an episode of one of the Cinemassacre shows the other day, and he was going into like this whole history of some shit that I didn't really know hardly anything about, like all the old spook shows from back like in the old days of like movie theaters, where you would go and it'd be like a double feature of like horror movies, and then they would do like shit in the theater. Like there'd be a stage, and they'd have like magic shows, or they'd have like a blackout. You know what I mean? Like, where all the lights would go out, and like they'd do like all these little pranks and shit like that. And then they actually had like, some of them actually had like famous people like turn like, past their heyday, like Bela Lugosi and stuff. But it's like they would make appearances like in the costume and all that other kind of shit. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's like something I didn't know that much about. Like I knew about like all the William Castle, like all the gimmicks they used to do, like the Tingler and all that kind of shit. Yeah. But I didn't know they used to do like the live action type of stuff where they'd turn all the lights out in the place, and they would have like magic shows and like fucking skeletons and celebrities and all that kind of shit.
Sounded reasonable.
Yeah, so it's like
a vaudeville show.
Yeah, so it was like really cool. It was and it was cool. He did like it was like a 30 or 45 minute on Cinemassacre. He was like talking all about the history, because he had just got a book about it and he got really interested, so he did like a show about it.
So there's a lot of stuff that's lost and will never be found. I mean, Nosferatu was almost lost.
Yeah.
I think they saved one copy because it was ordered destroyed.
Yep.
But they saved one copy and it leaked.
Yeah, because of the copyright.
Again. Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like I really like old silent horror movies, and it's like amazing how many of them are lost. And like some of them, they only know of them because like only a few minutes of it survived.
And titles.
Like I was watching this one the other day. It was Russian actually, and it was pretty creepy. I think it was called The Portrait. And I think it was initially an hour long or something, but only 8 minutes of it survive, like only between 6 and 8 minutes of it.
Well, there was that show that we did about the Ivan the Terrible's Lost Library. And that Lost Library, or the idea of it, is based upon a list of book titles, classic books that go back 2,000 years to the Roman era sometimes. And we have the list of the titles of those books, but
not the books
the books. And some of these historians are just dying to get their hands on those books. But
if there's any left, I mean...
they just can't find them. Old Roman history books gone, stuff like that.
Yeah. It's like it's kind of sad when you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's understandable because there's so many people and so many things and so many situations, and there's wars and fires and all kind of shit. And it's like if you don't have
floods.
I mean, probably better now because everybody uploads everything to the cloud. But even then, it's like
Oh, it's going to take us one in
if we
EMP.
lost if we had an EMP or we lost the internet, the aliens come and zap us. It's like we're going to lose all our shit. Oh well.
Yeah, people believe a lot in technology, especially these young people that grew up in an era of fucking the internet, and they just put everything all their hopes into the internet. Back in the 1800s, there was an EMP. It was so bad it fucking fried out telegraph wires.
Yeah.
And they think that happens every couple centuries. And the world we live in now is not EMP proof. If that EMP happened again, it was a solar flare that did it, I believe.
Yeah, I gotta watch them solar flares.
And
or gamma burst or something like that.
No, I think a gamma ray burst kills everything.
Yeah.
It's a fucking big dose of radiation. It would destroy everything. But I think it was a solar flare. If we have another one of those solar flares, it'll put us back to the 1900s.
So that's another cheerful thing to think about in the middle of a pandemic.
You worried about all this pandemic shit? You see, it's all it's going to take is a solar flare to wipe.
But like I said, you can't. It's kind of like worrying about like an asteroid hitting the Earth and wipe it. It's like yes, it could happen, but I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's like you can't do anything about it. They
need to harden our electrical infrastructure.
Well, that would definitely be something.
And they were trying to put a bill forth to do that, to make us EMP proof. They should do it.
Yeah, that does seem like a pretty high priority.
Right, to protect all these databases and stuff.
Yeah, because it's like our whole
your cars and your laptops won't survive, but you can just buy a new one as long as you still got power to make everything.
Yeah.
That's what they need to do.
Yeah. So, think about that. It's like you're bummed out about the pandemic. Hey, think about it. EMP,
that pandemic's not shit compared to
they could wipe out everything.
An EMP would have a natural EMP from a solar flare would have been a lot worse than this. Little flu.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right. So you done?
Yep.
All right. So have a good rest of your Tuesday. And as usual, we'll be back to give you another update and another fucking rambling discussion again tomorrow.